I bet you've heard the graphic design principles of contrast, hierarchy, and so on. What about visual tension or Rudolf Arnheim's structural net? And today you can learn all about some lesser known theories, and you will see just how hugely powerful they can be to you as a graphic designer. One thing that took me a long time to understand the importance of was the four main aspects of visual movement. After all, people do engage with our designs using their eyes. Being able to set up a design where you actively take your audience on a journey is a master skill, and it does go deeper than you think. The four aspects of this are movement, shape of element, structure, and subject matter. Yes, this might seem a tiny bit confusing or technical, but trust me, we're going to look at some real life examples in today's video. And sponsoring today's video is an absolute must for graphic designers. It's where you can download over 55 million resources in Envato Elements. Learn more about that later in today's video. Let's look at shape of element first. This is where a designer purposely uses a specific shape on a design that has an axis or line running through it and is carried through the entire shape. This causes the viewer to actually follow it along the design. On this website here, you can see that the beige peachy rectangle is actually carrying the viewer's eye along it, and then to the information on the left. This isn't a mistake, it's actually carefully planned out. Then we have this poster here. The designer has added red slanted rectangles that mirror the viewer's eye as it goes from the top left, across and down the design to the right. Basically, the designer has laid out a path for the viewer to go along visually speaking, and they will do that subconsciously because going against it will just feel uncomfortable. The second point is subject matter, which is pretty similar to shape of element, but it's more about visual cues. Think of fingers pointing or fists punching or eyes looking in one direction. As seen here on this poster, the arm is directing the attention up towards the bird. And on this website here, this woman's hand is literally directing attention to the main bit of information. But what about the third point, movement? So on a design, you can have design elements that work together to create a sense of movement. An example is this poster where various different shapes create a sense of movement upward. And then the fourth one we mentioned, structure. This is where Rudolf Arnheim's structural net comes into play. It sounds pretty weird, I know, but the theory suggests that every canvas has a structure, even before design elements and assets go onto it. Crazy, maybe, but let's take a look at this in more depth. The structure starts with a point of focus, centrally so. However, the theory suggests that it's a tiny bit higher than the exact center, and this is where most eyes will just naturally land. Then we have the axes that run from corner to corner, and the points along these axes that are actually midway between the center and the corners also attract attention. These midway points can then be connected with vertical and horizontal lines, which create additional axes of visual force. So according to Rudolf and his theory, the eyes will actually follow these paths, and they will actually land on the points of interest or focus. You may very well be able to see this in action in real life. And when you do start thinking about this, you begin to see designs very differently indeed. The next theory that is lesser known among graphic designers is visual tension. Like with a lot of theories in today's video, you won't see them on every single design, and sometimes designers do them without even realizing. However, they are very easy to get wrong, and we're soon going to see just that in action. But yeah, visual tension can be thought of as anxiety or just visual anxiety. It can be achieved when design elements are positioned alongside each other that disrupt the viewer's experience. Now you can think of this as creating disharmony to Rudolf's structural net, and that's where design elements totally go against the channels or paths that he theorizes. Looking on this website design here, we can see multiple elements that come together and point to random places on a design. It just looks simply unorganized and uncomfortable to look at, simply because it's disregarding those paths that we just saw. Instead, we can remove random movement and direction from shapes pointing in all directions and create one solid point of focus like on this second design here. Now here's a very simple and effective but forgotten about theory. The theory of overall design composition direction. The three main directions for a composition can be horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. Horizontal compositions are more calming and stable. No, I don't mean kind of landscape designs, I just mean the directional movement of the design layout. Then vertical designs are good to show balance, boldness, and alertness. Then finally, the diagonal compositions will help to suggest movement and action. We can see here on this first design how everything just feels calm and still. The directional movement of the design as a whole is horizontal. And then for the second compositional layout, we have vertical. Here we see more vertical direction of the form, with some slight diagonals with the red strike marks on the left. The design seems more bold, more striking and impacting. Then finally, the diagonal design. Notice also how this brochure has used the Satori color of yellowy orange. And that's a typical color for action and movement. It's no coincidence that the diagonal layout is matched to this. It's kind of like a double whammy of psychological traits on this design. As you should be aware of now, movement is a powerful tool not only to direct a viewer around your design, but also to make them feel comfortable or uncomfortable, depending on what you want them to feel. But as we've just seen, it's possible also to set a base feeling or emotion simply by looking at the layout and directional movement of your composition. Never ever underestimate the power of this stuff. And next time you're looking at graphic designs, consider the design theories in today's video. So yeah, thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Envato Elements. This is a great one-stop shop subscription service that I use personally on a daily basis. Now, as you can see here, they've added over 94,000 new assets this week alone, and there are over 250,000 motion graphics downloads. You can find a wide range of categories to look over, such as video, imagery, templates, and even fonts, as you can see here. And let me tell you, the font selection on Envato Elements is vast and awesome. But yeah, you can also find things like website design templates and app design templates too. And you're never going to run into trouble either, because you own the rights to each download due to having a license when signing up for a paid subscription. And it works out to be less than $20 a month for the annual plan. And when you consider how useful this website is and how many downloads there are, it does work out to be really cost effective. And yeah, you can check out Envato Elements linked down in the description box below. But if you want to learn more about the wonderful world of graphic design, just click the video on screen. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.